Good evening, members of the public. We are waiting for a quorum for Planning Commission. When we have a quorum, we will start the meeting, and we'll let you know when that is. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for your patience while we wait for a quorum. Let's go and start tonight's meeting. Let's first please take roll.
Commissioner Lede, Commissioner Calandra, Commissioner Diaz, Commissioner Kreiner,
Present.
Commissioner Shergill,
Present.
Vice Chair Bray, Chair Vang.
Here, thank you. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone, please stand. Ready? Begin. I'll go ahead and read the procedures for tonight's meeting. This meeting is being conducted in person and electronically. For each matter considered by the Commission, there will first be a staff presentation, followed by a presentation for the project applicant. Testimony from supporters of the project will then be taken, followed by testimony from those in opposition. The applicant will have the right to a final rebuttal presentation prior to closing the public hearing. In accordance with Section 13 of Article 2 of the Planning Commission Rules and Regulations governing length of public debate, all public testimony from those in support and opposition of the project will be limited to 3 minutes per person. The 3 lights on the podium next to the microphone will indicate the amount of time remaining for the speaker. The green light will be turned on when the speaker begins. The yellow light will come on with a soft bell ring when 1 minute is remaining. The speaker should be completing the testimony by the time the red light comes on with the final bell indicating time has expired. All in-person public testimony must be presented to the Commission at the podium. Any testimony that references race, religion, ethnicity, economic status, national origin, or any other classification protected under state or federal law in a derogatory manner should be deemed irrelevant and will not be considered by the Commission in making its land use determinations. If you challenge these land use matters in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised in oral or written testimony or before the close of the hearing. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
Good evening, Chair Vang. Commissioners, Philip Segrist, Planning and Development Department. Staff has no changes to tonight's agenda.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any commissioners who want to make any kind of changes? Any motions to accept the agenda?
I'll move to accept the agenda.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion made by Vice Chair Bray, a second by Commissioner Kreiner. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion's approved. Under consent calendar, we do have meeting minutes for April 2nd, 2025. We have any comments or motion from the Commission?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kreiner, a second by Vice Chair Bray. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion's approved. Any reports from the commissioners?
Oh, I just want to thank the Governor Newsom for something he did. He actually, I'm just going to read the message that we received from him. He said, Vaisakhi diyan lakh lakh vadaiyan, California, wishing Sikh communities across California joyful Vaisakhi filled with renewal, abundance, and prosperity. May this time of celebration bring friends and families together for reflection, growth, and unity. Thank you, Governor Newsom.
Thank you. We'll move to new matters. This is item ID 25372, consideration of plan amendment application number P2303006.
Sorry. Okay. Good evening, Chair, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Rob Holt, Supervising Planner with Planning and Development. And tonight, staff brings forth consideration of Plan Amendment Rezone Application P23-03006 and the related environmental finding. Before starting the presentation, staff wanted to note that yesterday we received a comment letter in opposition to the project that was provided to you. That can be discussed by you if you wish. We have the applicant in attendance tonight with their own presentation, and any questions related to CEQA specifically, we do have our subject matter expert and the environmental consultant for the project, Kyle Simpson. The applicant is Buzz Oats Management Services. The subject property is located at the southeast corner of Annandale Avenue and South Elm Avenue. It's actually bounded by Annandale to the north, Elm to the west, the Chester-Sampson alignment to the south, and State Route 41 on the east, and is surrounded primarily by rural residential to the further west with a school and northwest, and industrial to the north and east. The planned land use of the subject property is neighborhood mixed use with light industrial, employment light industrial to the north, community commercial and neighborhood mixed use to the west and south, and heavy industrial to the east across 41. This may look familiar to a few of the commissioners here. This previously came to you back in 2022, where the Planning Commission recommended approval of the project, which was the entirety area of this subject property in question tonight, as well as the northern portion north of Annandale, south of Vine. Ultimately, that recommendation for approval went to council. At that point, council then on October 13th, 2022, took action to approve just the northern portion bounded by Vine, Annandale, Elm, and State Route 41 with conditions of zoning specific to conditionally permitted uses that are normally just permitted uses in IL, as well as non-permitted uses. The plan amendment that we have today is amending policy LU 8.1 of the Southwest Fresno Specific Plan, and that was amended with the plan amendment previously adopted by council to only include, again, the northern portion of the property. The project we have today, subject tonight, is a change of planned land use of the subject area, again, south of Annandale, from neighborhood mixed use to employment light industrial. Additionally, an amendment to what's now the current policy LU 8.1 is essentially changing the boundary to include the southern portion as East Chester-Sampson Avenue alignment rather than the Annandale, and the removal of the language and non-polluting uses. The rezone will change the zone district of this area from neighborhood mixed use to light industrial IL with conditions of zoning provided by the applicant, which I'm going to go over now. So the first condition of zoning, and this is all subject to, any further development on the properties would be conditioned upon the following conditions of zoning. We're going to go through each one individually for you and for the public to understand what is being proposed by the applicant. The first is these uses are subject to a conditional use permit. I'm going to categorize that as a CUP, regardless of any future changes to the use code. That includes research and development, chemical and mineral storage, other than incidental storage that comprises less than 5% of the premises, subject to compliance with CalARP. So anything that's not incidental and is chemical mineral storage that's less than 5%, that will be subject. And then any new industrial use permitted or permitted with a CUP in the Isle Zone District, and that would, one, result in construction of a new structure greater than 1,000 square feet, and result in expansion of any existing structure by more than 5% of its gross floor area, or if it requires permitting under Title V of the Clean Air Act. The second condition of zoning is uses that are not permitted. Now, what we have here in front of you are all of the uses that currently are either conditionally permitted or permitted by right in the IL Zone District. And next to each use is either a P or a C, P for permitted, C for conditionally permitted. Approval of this with conditions of zoning would make these prohibited, not permitted at all. That includes emergency shelters, hospitals, parking lots, public or private, adult-oriented businesses, kennels, large vehicle and equipment sales, services and rental, motorcycle riding clubs, airports and heliports, utilities major, crop cultivation, concrete batch plants, shooting and archery ranges, swap meet and flea markets, towing and impound, CRV recycling centers, recycling processing facilities and waste transfer facilities. And these are the following, these aren't actual listed uses in the use table. They are uses within a general use called general industrial. So there are other uses within general industrial that will be allowed, but these ones are not, and that includes rubber products manufacturing, non-metallic mineral product manufacturing, primary metal manufacturing, fabricated metal product manufacturing, and automotive and heavy equipment manufacturing. Now, these uses, do my best to explain this, currently are not permitted in the Isle Zone District. If any future adoptions occurred that make these less restrictions, meaning they may be permitted in the future or the like, they will continue to be not permitted. And that includes animal raising, dairy, intensive industrial, mining and quarrying, rendering, salvage and wrecking, sales lot, feedlot, stockyard, and slaughterhouse. And the rest of these I will go down the list. So additionally, on the conditions of zoning, we also are including that the interior footprint of any existing structure shall not be expanded by an area greater than 10% of the existing exterior footprint. So the interior of any existing structure cannot expand by more than 10% of what actually exists today. Any truck trips to or from the property shall only follow truck routes designated by the City of Fresno. All truck routes shall avoid pathways adjacent to schools or that traverse through residential neighborhoods. All properties must be landscaped in accordance with our FMC section 152305B, which basically says that all required setback areas shall be landscaped except for those of entrance and exit. That there's no use shall generate odors that are detectable off-site. No new use shall generate noise at a level that exceeds the limitations provided in the Fresno Municipal Code. Any new industrial use must tie into the city's municipal water system. The use of groundwater from private wells is not permitted. All new industrial uses must acquire and maintain at all times, 1, any permits required for any stationary sources, and 2, certificates from the California Air Resources Control Board showing compliance with all applicable regulations governing trucks, which includes yard trucks that enter onto the project site through different regulations from the truck and bus regulation, the advanced clean trucks, and the like. Any tenant improvements or other construction activities performed for any new industrial use shall comply with the California Building Green Standards, also known as Cal Green. And almost there, all industrial uses shall fully comply with the CalARP program, as California Accidental Release Prevention Program. And no industrial use shall allow any substance regulated under the CalARP program or other hazardous substance to migrate offsite. And last but not least, in the event that any contamination is discovered on the property, the landowner shall cooperate in good faith and with reasonable diligence with the investigation and remediation of the property by the governmental entity or entities overseeing such investigation and remediation. Nothing herein shall be construed as limiting the right of any landowner to seek indemnification or contribution from any person or entity. So that's what's proposed today. Staff is going to do a little further analysis and provide what has been done up to this point. So Senate Bill 330, and also updated by Senate Bill 8, we know as SB 330, has limitations on plan amendments and rezones like this tonight to essentially when you downzone a property or provide a less intensive residential use that results in a net residential capacity loss. So what that means is when you have a density component to a zone district based on max density, if you are lowering that, you need to make up with a concurrent plan amendment and rezone to make up that loss of net residential capacity at the same council hearing. So in this case, the subject property is zoned NMX, neighborhood mixed use. That has a max capacity, or density, of 64 dwelling units per acre. The subject area is 55.31 acres. At 64 dwelling units per acre, you have a net residential capacity loss of 3,540 dwelling units. That number needs to be made up elsewhere, concurrently at City Council with another application. That said, there is a required neighborhood meeting component for our code, and that neighborhood meeting was held by the applicant on November 6, 2023. It included a 2,000-foot buffer notice from property owners from the subject area, and the results of that were 40 participants. Concerns provided by those participants included potential pollution production, noise, odor, waste, traffic, and requests for a counterplan for brownfield. Ultimately, residents were not in support of that proposed plan amendment and rezone tonight. Additionally, as part of the application process, the project has to go to the respective council district's project review committee. In this instance, it's Council District 3. And I have a couple of slides on this. I wanted to provide what concerns and questions were brought up by the actual committee, as well as those that attended from the public. So from the committee, concerns that were brought up include conditions of zoning. Are they subject to existing and or future tenants? Is the NMX zone preventing existing businesses from operating? The health of the nearby residents and community supersedes the number of jobs created for businesses. Why are changes to planned land use needed if no changes to development of the site are needed? After adoption of the Southwest Fresno specific plan, it seems industrial community is trying to find loopholes to retain industrial development, which goes against the wants of the community, and is existing development fully occupied now? And with that, followed public comment, and what the public provided their input at this meeting, again held on October 22nd, 2024, was that industrial development has elevated infant mortality rate of the area, with pollution increased over time. Additionally, the applicants need to look for new tenants that match the existing NMX zoning. They believe the Southwest Fresno community was redlined, and one resident, since moving from Denver, Colorado, that they had developed primarily asthma problems amongst other issues because of pollution and effects as a result of industrial development. Land use designations in the Southwest Fresno specific plan would promote businesses allowed consistent with what it is currently planned for. Although not against businesses, primary concern is for the health of Southwest Fresno residents, and that the community wants Southwest Fresno to be productive, and we want types of development such as grocery stores. Ultimately, the district committee recommended opposition to moving forward with the change from NMX to IL with the CZs. So for your consideration tonight, Commission, I wanted to provide you with the findings, and this can be brought back up at any time tonight for your review, but ultimately these findings need to be made for a plan amendments and rezones, and that includes the change is consistent with the general plan goals and policies, any operative plan or adopted policy. The change is consistent with the purpose of the Development Code to promote the growth of the city in an orderly and sustainable manner, and to promote and protect the public health, safety, peace, comfort, and general welfare. And the change is necessary to achieve the balance of land uses desired by the city and to provide sites for needed housing or employment-generating uses consistent with the general plan, any applicable operative plan or adopted policy, and to increase the inventory of land within a given zoning district to meet market demand. There are findings that staff has provided that if you will move forward with adoption, you can use as Exhibit F, or you can adopt alternate findings if that is the route you wish to go. That said, staff is recommending the Planning Commission consider to the council consideration of tonight's items. And there are three options for you based on staff's consideration for this. Your option one is to recommend denial to the council of the project, recommend approval of the project, and that would be subject to the findings or adoption of your own alternative findings, understanding that that approval subject is to compliance with SB 330. If you remember the net loss residential capacity makeup, it would be subject to that. Or three, option three, you can recommend approval with your own conditions to the council of the project. You would need to include those recommended conditions within your motion, and you can subject that to the findings under Exhibit F, or again, adopt your alternative findings. And again, that also is subject to approval in compliance with SB 330. That concludes staff's presentation. Be happy to answer any questions. Again, the applicant's here tonight. Anything relative to CEQA can be answered by the environmental consultant. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Question for you. With the loss of potentially 30,540 dwelling units, has the city looked into alternative sites to make up those units too?
This is going to be scheduled for the April 24th council hearing next Thursday. Any potential requirements from this would be subject to SB 330, where it would need to make up that loss. There needs to be items on that agenda for us to take it on the same meeting.
Okay, that sounds good. Any other questions from the commission? I see none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Do we have the applicant here?
Thank you so much. Good evening, honorable commissioners. Chair Vang. My name is John Kinsey. I'm with Wanger Jones Helsley here in Fresno, California. And I'm here on behalf of the applicants. the landowners, Buzz Oates, Span Development, the Martella, and PB Trust. We're seeking this approval to revert the zoning of the property back to light industrial as it was prior to 2017 to help ensure the viability of these very extensive investments in the city of Fresno, as well as the jobs that they provide to our community. The property in question, Mr. Holt did a very good job of describing it. This is just the depiction of it with the location. I want to make a couple things clear. This is a project that's obviously received attention in the media as well as various comment letters. And there are, certain misperceptions about this project that, through this presentation, I really want to make sure that I address and that are clear both for the public as well as the commission. There has been some suggestion that this project would result in recycling facilities or that it involves Mid-Valley. I just want to make very clear that Mid-Valley Recycling is not a part of this project. In addition, the conditions of zoning actually prohibit that type of facility within this area. And as you can see from the picture, these properties are fully built out. They are existing land uses. They are not this is not a piece of property that is yet to be developed. These are existing businesses with existing employees that are operating on this site. These are some pictures of the exterior of the properties. You can see the landscaping off of Elm Avenue, Annandale Avenue, and the property, as Mr. Holt mentioned, is neighborhood mixed use. It was previously light industrial all the way up until 2017. It's occupied by numerous light industrial businesses, and like I said, there's no room for development and expansion. Our request is obviously to get the zoning back to what it was before 2017. Now, the background for this property is back in the early 2000s. This was, I understand, a dairy property. There was significant contamination on the property. And the city of Fresno, as part of its initiative, went to various industrial developers across the state of California and within Fresno and attracted them to invest in the city. The buildings here are relatively new. They were built from the mid-2000s. In fact, the last several of the buildings were built in as recently as 2016. So these are new, state-of-the-art buildings. They're clean. Anyone driving by them today can see that these are not poor-looking, they're not buildings that have blight conditions. They're not in a condition that is in a state of disrepair. The properties include national and local tenants, light industrial tenants, clean businesses. It includes IFCO, Barney Butter, Pods Moving and Storage, American Bottling Company. And again, we're talking about over $100 million invested in the city of Fresno over the last 20 years. Now, in 2017, there was a rezone, and it was a rezone as part of the Southwest Pacific Plan. The rezone was to neighborhood mixed use, and unfortunately, virtually all of the uses that are currently occupied on the site are not permitted in that zoning district. That zoning district actually contemplates high-density housing with local commercial serving uses and offices. These are not the types of buildings that you associate with neighborhood mixed use. Those allowed uses you would typically associate with bottom floor commercial with higher density residential on top or very similar types of development. Again, these are fully built out warehouses that just aren't conducive to that type of development and that can't be redeveloped as they stand. I've heard several comments that, hey, you don't need to get rezoned. You can just operate as is. These are legal non-conforming uses. But that's only a part of the story. The problem is that if you have a furniture manufacturing company, for example, you cannot change that land use if you're a legal non-conforming use. So for example, you can't change from a furniture manufacturer to a furniture storage and distribution company without being in violation of the code and being subject to essentially getting a notice of violation from the city and not being allowed to operate. And that's a problem for a landowner who has tenants that can be changing and receiving offers from tenants all over the country. These landowners, in order to make these facilities viable, need to have that flexibility. And what they can't have is a building that's laying vacant because they can't find another like-kind business to go in there. And again, that's relatively common, to go from a distribution company to a manufacturer and vice versa. Unfortunately, with the legal non-conforming use provisions of the code, that just isn't possible. And this causes significant impacts to the landowners. It diminishes the ability of these landowners and the city of Fresno to attract reputable, responsible, and well-capitalized tenants, the exact types of tenants that this community deserves and that will provide jobs to this community. It undermines the ability of the landowners to sell, plummeting their property value. It undermines the ability to obtain financing to achieve upgrades, including electrification, which is absolutely critical for these types of businesses. The state of California incentivizes electrification. The state of California wants industrial properties to go electric. You can't do that if you can't get financing. And you can't get financing if your zoning is inconsistent with your underlying land use. In addition, non-use or a change in use can result in complete loss of legal non-conforming status. And this isn't just an issue for this property. Our region oftentimes loses jobs, businesses to other states and regions. It undermines the city's ability to compete with other jurisdictions, including jurisdictions near to us. And economic development, economic investment, and jobs require certainty. And providing this property with its zoning back fosters that certainty that business needs to thrive to provide the jobs that our community deserves. Back in 2022, the City Council gave direction. First of all, it approved the rezone to light industrial for the properties to the north of Annandale. That included Mid-Valley as well as SDG. With respect to the remaining 60 acres, the City Council gave direction for the landowners to negotiate with community representatives regarding a potential overlay district. The remaining landowners, the landowners who I represent today, went through that process. It was a very, I think, healthy process. We had very good conversations. I got to know Pastor Lewis in that process. Unfortunately, we ultimately didn't reach agreement. That being said, we learned, we listened, and what we did is we took the concerns regarding environmental impacts that the community raised to us. And what we did is we came up with concrete, identifiable, actionable mitigation measures to address each one of those concerns. Now, ultimately, we weren't able to reach settlement. That was unfortunate, but we understand. Sometimes there are roadblocks. As a result of that, the City Council gave us direction to simply re-seek the industrial zoning without an overlay district. Now, my landowners weren't just going to go back on those commitments that they made during the settlement negotiations. That's just not how they operate. They identified mitigation that was specifically responsive to the concerns that were being raised by the community, and they said, you know what, we're going to make this a part of our application. And they not only said, we want these as conditions of approval, we said, we're going to put these as conditions of land use, which means they get recorded against the properties. So no matter what happens, these are conditions similar to a condition that you would have with a homeowners association or that a bank would put on a property for, like a lien or a mortgage. They get recorded against the property as conditions of zoning. So that's the type of binding commitment that my clients were willing to agree to. Now, Mr. Holt spoke about what those conditions are. I won't repeat them, but they very significantly restrict the number of land uses that can be engaged in on this property. They also significantly restrict any further build out. I mean, from a practical perspective, these properties can't be built out. Really what we're talking about is de minimis types of structures like guard tower, like security guard houses and that type of thing, awnings. The environmental impacts of this have been assessed. The city prepared a full addendum, and it's a very lengthy document that you've seen as part of the staff report. And what the city's consultant found is that there will not be any environmental effects that would require an EIR. The landowners did seek community input through a formal meeting, but I do want to emphasize that in addition to this community meeting, in addition to the Project Review Committee meeting, I was looking at my calendar and I can count literally dozens of meetings that my clients have had relating to this property. This slide, this one meeting doesn't tell the whole story. There have been many community meetings. We've engaged in numerous settlement meetings, for example, with the community. There have been numerous public hearings, both before this body, the City Council, and other entities regarding this project. This is a project where the public has had a very significant opportunity to provide input, where the landowners have had a very significant opportunity to receive that input. And as part of that process, that's ultimately where the landowners came up with those conditions of approval, those commitments that they were going to make to the community. So lastly, I do want to address some of the more common misperceptions that this project has generated. There's been suggestion that this project will result in new industrial buildings. That's inaccurate. The site is completely built out. It's been built out since 2016. There's a misperception that the project would result in expansion of industrial land uses. Again, the landowners have included restrictions on expansion, and the site's fully built out. There's nowhere for additional businesses to go. There's suggestions that the facilities will create pollution. Again, the landowners are simply asking to do what they've been doing since these buildings were built as recently as 2016. And I think that their track record, the fact that they've demonstrated over the last 10 to 15 years that they are responsible operators, that they are attracting high-quality tenants, demonstrates that this is not an issue. But in any event, the landowners have agreed to conditions of zoning to prevent this type of issue from occurring. There's a suggestion that this project, if the rezone occurs, will result in heavy industrial uses coming to the community. As Mr. Holt explained, heavy industrial land uses are being carved out. They will never be on this site with the conditions of zoning that are going to be recorded against the properties. In addition, there's a suggestion that this property would result, or this approval would result in new environmental impacts. And again, all the landowners are seeking is to continue with their existing land uses and to continue to do what they're doing. And I think their track record speaks volumes. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I sincerely appreciate the Commission's consideration of this item. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the Commission? None. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and go to the public. First, we're going to have individuals who would like to speak in support, if you may. Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Sure. Hi, my name is Nick Audino, 1141 East Royal Dornoch Avenue, Fresno, California, 93730. I am an industrial real estate broker here in Fresno with Newmark Pearson Commercial. I've been working in this capacity since 1997. I'm also on the board of the directors of Fresno County EDC, heavily involved in economic development. This Elm Avenue rezone to neighborhood mixed use has created a wide variety of problems for ownership. John Kenzie spelled those out in great detail, so I don't need to go over that. But as the leasing agent, I think it's important to note that vacancy in the industrial market has increased. It's doubled over the last year and a half. So where we had vacancy as low as 1.75%, no tenants really moving around during that time period, that has really changed. And I think what has changed is we found tenants are moving out. All the vacancy that we have, from 2% to over 4% now, has been existing businesses leaving in existing buildings. We have not built a building in this town or of any significance or projects of any significance in years. And I think part of it is due to the fact that we really haven't shown an aggressive desire to be in the industrial business. And Elm Avenue, I think, is a part of that. It's one of the first things that happened as a result of that. So we're looking to get back into that business. I think as far as Elm goes, the legal nonconforming situation for new tenants creates a situation where we're going to have to find lesser tenants, do less expensive deals, find tenants that are willing to cooperate with going through the process of getting approved by legal nonconforming, when they have options out here that have been entitled properties, for the same price. So I would encourage you to recommend the project move forward to the City Council, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Do we have the next individual? Also, too, please, while we do have someone speak, please be considerate of one another. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Will Oliver, President and CEO of the Fresno County Economic Development Corporation, 1060 Fulton Street here in downtown Fresno. We're here to ask for consideration of reverting the land use designation from neighborhood mixed use to the light industrial zone district, consistent with how the buildings were built and how they operate today. First, I just want to recognize that the Southwest Specific Plan has accomplished a great deal of good, as intended. It's extended educational opportunities, especially for adult learners, helped support new retail in the area, as well as access to healthcare facilities. I think that's also best been accomplished when not only having zoning, but also vacant lands and or consenting property owners who have not only a personal but economic prerogative to make those projects happen. Having an adaptive, reuse project of 900,000 square feet of industrial space to accomplish some of those goals, we believe would be very difficult to accomplish. What we've seen in economic development with several users at these sites is a lot of challenges with the neighborhood mixed-use zoning district. It puts projects in limbo. As was stated, it makes it difficult to obtain insurance. Not to mention when carriers are leaving the state of California and post-Palisades fire, it's making financing very complicated and difficult, especially with interest rates on the rise and looming tariffs, to say the least. And leasing expansion is hindered. We worked on a recent project where the user there at that site was looking to expand from 5,000 square feet to 20,000 square feet, a modest expansion with some increased job creation. That project nearly did not go through because of the lack of conformity and consistent land use. And we almost lost that business. Ultimately, we were able to get it through, but it took many, many months to get it through the process. And you may recall that there are similar issues raised with the South Central Specific Plan regarding downzoning of properties, mismatched zoning with the built reality, and including questions about whether or not that would result in a potential taking. So we do encourage consideration of returning this land use to the light industrial zone district. It includes clear conditions. It outlines the incompatible uses, uses that residents were very concerned about, rightly so. And so as we work to grow jobs in critical sectors, many that are located there at this subject property, I think it's important that we have spaces that are financeable, leasable, and insurable. So we encourage your consideration, and thank you for your time this evening.
All right, thank you. Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay. Good evening, Chair Vang and Commissioners. My name is Fernando Alvarez, and I'm speaking here on behalf of the Fresno Chamber of Commerce. We are in support of this item because it promotes job retention, economic growth, and long-term stability for a lot of the businesses out here in Southwest Fresno. A lot of the property owners have made binding commitments already to go above and beyond and address a lot of the community concerns in this area. And those are limits on their use, tracking, and routing a lot of the truck routes away from school zones and residential areas, above other additional environmental protections. Light industrial zoning is appropriate for this site and is essential to keeping hundreds of these good-paying jobs in our area in Southwest Fresno. Denying this rezone risks displacing a lot of our employers, as we know, have been leaving to our neighboring communities, and is also sending a message that Fresno is not business-friendly, something that we just cannot afford. We respectfully urge for you to approve this request for the rezoning back to light industrial. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Commissioners, Chairman Bang. My name is Kyle Rittering, 7480 North Palm, Suite 101. I'm part of the leasing and marketing team for the property owners at the Elm Project. Just a couple things just wanted to touch on really quickly here. So most of these leases, they're typically 3 to 5 years. When that time's up, there's a lot of times where we'll be moving a tenant around, they'll need to expand, they'll need to downsize. So along with that, at the end of this 3 to 5 years, we're going to be running into a lot of times where we're going to be switching uses, where we're going to have a business that's doing solar panels is now going to be doing logistics or something similar to that. So with these tenants moving out, it's going to be very difficult for us to lease the property, to find tenants, and that's going to create more and more vacancy in the project. What that vacancy buildup will do is it will disincentivize the project owners to really reinvest in the project, to spend more money on it, to do the necessary things, and it'll become a blighted property. A lot of times in other towns, you might see an infill development warehouse that gets repurposed to, a shopping center or something similar to that. This property, the way that it's configured, the location, a handful of different aspects of it really would make it difficult to do that with this project. So I just wanted to be clear on those things, and thank you.
Thank you. Any other individuals who would like to speak in support? And this is for support. Okay. Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Ariana Burton, address 5223 North Fresno Street. And to the commissioners, I urge you to consider rejecting this agenda item. This isn't just a zoning change, it's a breach of trust.
My apologies, but we're still speaking in support, so you can come back. I'll allow you to be the first person to speak against it, though, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Any other individuals who would like to speak in support? All right, so we'll go ahead and move forward to any individuals who would like to speak against. Go ahead, Miss.
My name is Ariana Burton, address 5223 North Fresno Street. And to the commissioners, again, I urge you to consider rejecting this agenda item. It isn't just a change in zones, it's a breach of trust. The Southwest Fresno specific plan was built through years of intentional, inclusive community input. It reflects the hopes of residents who have faced the long-term impacts of environmental racism and economic injustice. Ignoring this plan now sends a clear message that our voices, especially those from historically overlooked communities, don't matter. When we came together to shape a vision for the neighborhood, we weren't asking for more industry or pollution. We were advocating for healthier environments, more housing, and a better quality of life. Choosing to uphold the specific plan is choosing to stand on the side of community integrity. Please don't throw it away for the benefit of few business interests. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss. I appreciate the enthusiasm, but we have a lot of speakers too, so let's try to get through this as quick as possible. Give everybody an opportunity to speak, okay? All right. Next individual who would like to speak in opposition. Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Debbie Darden, 891 West Kearney Boulevard, 93706. I am a West Fresno native, born and raised. I still reside there. In regards to this, we have spoken over and over. I sit on the District 3 Project Committee, and you have seen where we have opposed this, once again, recommendation. As you heard from the previous speakers, it is built out. Why do we need to rezone? I want to let you guys know when it came down to West Fresno, prior to a Southwest Pacific plan, we have had nothing but undesirables come to our community. And although we have come before a planning commission, along with city council, and have voiced our concerns of what we need in our community, not our wants, is what we need in order for us to grow in our community, we have constantly had to run into challenges. So it has fallen on deaf ears. We are in a community with one primary grocery store. We are living in a community that was redlined by the Planning Commission and our city leaders. And what I mean by that, we are the only community that is sitting with a freeway that separates our neighborhoods. No one else. And just like this property, and although they say Mid-Valley is not a part of it, understand, Mid-Valley was something we fought against. We didn't need Mid-Valley on Elm Avenue sitting across the street from our medical center and category across the street from our elementary and our junior high school. That is what we are faced with every single day. And once you build it, we can't remove it. As they stated, it has been built out. We had to create a Southwest Pacific plan that was told to us by city officials in order for us to get that zoning out of our area. That's why many of us have sat on there for over 2 years to create that, because we didn't know we needed it. And other areas have it. Ours is the only one that continues to get holes poked through, even though we fought hard to get that zoning out of our community. We would like to have our lives extended. Right now, we lose 20 years of life expectancy. We hope that this does not fall on deaf ears. It's amazing how development continues to go up out north. The Costco, we're getting ready to lose that. It's going to go further out. We have to drive out there in order to get the reasonable prices of good groceries, gas, because everything in the poor area, as you guys like to define us, we're paying an enormous amount of money. We ask that you remain and support us in opposing this. It is built out. We don't need to continue to allow the undesirables to continue to enhance their property. All who have stood up before us, they don't reside in West Fresno. Please remember that.
Thank you. Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Commission. Pastor B.T. Lewis, Rising Star Missionary Baptist Church, 1104 Collins Avenue, 93706. Changing the zoning of these properties will increase the health risk to Southwest Fresno residents and our public school community. And reversing the current zoning definitions for these properties will continue to overburden Southwest Fresno with industrial land uses that limit our ability to prosper in this city. So dwelling units were mentioned. Dwelling units requirements necessary to satisfy this application are not required to be in Southwest Fresno. It could be citywide. Also, I want to mention that the application is insulting to Southwest Fresno residents as it seeks to undermine the future prosperity and quality of life of our community. And so the best option this evening is to deny the recommendation of this application and not move it forward to City Council. I'm sure that the employees that work in these facilities do not live in Southwest Fresno. So we can talk about jobs that these companies provide, but those jobs don't benefit us in Southwest Fresno. Industrial business is important to the success of any city, but under the zoning, but to undo the zoning definitions of these properties will add to the environmental burden of our community. What I envisioned was like a bucket full of water, and by reversing these zoning definitions, is pouring more industrial into the bucket, and the bucket is already overflowing, and we just keep pouring into this bucket over and over again, and that's just not fair to our community. It's not fair to the residents of our community, and we ask tonight that you would deny this application. Do not move it forward. We respectfully ask that you consider denying it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have the next individual? How are you doing, Miss? Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Mary Curry. I reside at 312 West Valencia Avenue, Fresno 93706. I am here because I'm very concerned about the quality of life in the neighborhood that I live in. I want to remind you that we wouldn't be doing this today if people had done the right thing years ago, when they redlined our area, forced us into an area that, whether we liked it or not, that's where we live. And now we keep asking, we're not begging, we're just asking you to do the right thing. When every time I repeat the Pledge of Allegiance, I think of that part that says, for liberty and justice for all. And it just gets to me right here. And I'll tell you why. I had 7 uncles, and my brother was in the military. My dad died for World War II. They didn't ask what color he was. They didn't care. They just needed a serviceman to put his life on the line, and that's what he did. But I want you to know that someday we'll all account for our behavior, and you have an opportunity to fix some of the things that were done in the past. You didn't do them, but people did them and left you to work with it. So it's up to you to do the right thing. And right now, we're living in a climate where people don't care about each other. But I want you to know that I care about everybody, and I won't stop caring. I may not embrace you physically, but I care about everybody. People deserve to have a life. Every human being has value. Every human being has a story. The story may never get told. Maybe nobody will ever hear it, but every human being has one. And it is up to us as human beings of humanity to embrace each other and treat each other with decency and respect. And that's what I hope you will do tonight. If there's no changes to be made, why are these people asking for changes? We settled on that years ago. So if there's no changes to be made, there's no need to make change. So I'm saying why? Because someone is not telling you the whole truth. Beware of that. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the next individual. Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Giovanni Casillas. I'm a resident, 3404 North Millbrook. If Fresno really wants to grow in a fair way, it needs to stop changing up the rules whenever it feels like it. This thing in Agenda Item A goes against the city's own plans. It breaks the rules of CB 330, which says we got to save land for housing. It also ignores the Southwest Fresno plan that the community helped create. Instead, they are trying to bring in more industrial stuff that only helps a few people, not the whole community. If the city says one thing but does another just because of pressure, how are we supposed to trust them? That's not fair, and it's not good leadership. Fresno needs to stick to the promise it made, say no to this plan, and do what's right for the people who actually live here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Do we have the next individual who would like to speak in opposition? Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Michael Lynn Lewis, and I reside at 2519 South Lotus Avenue, 93706. Good evening to the commission. I just want to say that I was part of the Southwest Pacific Plan. We worked diligently. This was an 8-month project that turned into 2 years. We did this and we worked hard because we wanted to get it right. We were happy that somebody finally came to us and asked us, what did we think? We went into a small room upstairs in the chamber, and I can't tell you, some days we couldn't even breathe. It was so tight in there and so hot in there, but we wanted to make sure. We endured criticism from our fellow residents who said, oh, they're not listening to you guys. They'll never do anything for us. We endured all of that, and we came out with the plan. We came before this commission, and one woman on the committee, we worked on it long enough for her to conceive, and the day before her actual day of giving birth, she came here to make sure that you voted in the right thing. This commission voted unanimously for this plan. We were left here with a lot of hope, thinking like, my goodness, finally we're going to get a good community out of this whole thing. We went before the city council, we got another unanimous vote. And now every time I turn around, somebody is trying to dismantle what we put together. Now, every last one of these people that this gentleman is representing, they were invited to come to it. The planning department here has records of all these notifications that they sent. Not one person from not one of these industries actually showed up. Now they want to sit there and say, oh, well, you know what? It's just the Southwest Pacific plan. It's just the Southwest Pacific residents. They don't know anything. But we changed it. We came with hope. We came with determination. We came with education. We came with experience. And we came with the goal that we would have the same thing that North Fresno has. And since then, we have not had anything except a lot of pushback on what we wanted. Now, it's time for them to stop harassing us and coming after us and for you all to do something about this, to stop this. Every time they show up, they want to dismantle us. They don't want to do anything and talk about anything positive for us. So I'm asking you at this point in time to please deny their application. Thank you.
Thank you. Next individual. Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, and to the council. My name is Hester Hensley. I reside in Southwest Fresno, has been a resident of Southwest Fresno since 1946. I was going to say that people in Southwest Fresno pay a lot of tax. We're taxpayers, just like the other parts of Fresno. But we somehow don't get listened to like the other side of South Fresno. North Fresno, East Fresno, they get all the benefits of us because we have to travel for anywhere from 10 to 15 miles to go to shop and do things. That's a burden on us. It's not a benefit, it's a burden. So my thing is why as the residents that pays tax in Southwest Fresno, we don't get the benefits that everyone else in this town get. Now, Southwest Fresno is just not a dumping ground. It seems like everything that come that want to dump something that we have not asked for, we get it. Now, I hope you're getting this. I really hope that you're getting, not just saying we just come here just to complain. To complain, if we wouldn't have to complain if you would do what's right toward us. Do what's right toward us. Bring something over there that we asked for. We asked for retail. We don't get that. What do we want with more factories? Why do we want more industry? Why can't you build some of that stuff over in North Fresno? Why can't you put it over in East Fresno? Why do they always have to come to Southwest Fresno? Just think about it. And they talk about jobs. If you go into any one of them buildings over there that they're talking about, if you find one black, that's all you're going to find is one black. Most of them don't have any blacks working in there. So as far as jobs, when you see people that come from North and East Fresno, you come out the freeway, come in this direction, you can't hardly get over in Southwest Fresno for the cars and the transportation. The roads are full, packed. In the afternoon, in the evening, same thing. They go back to their side of town where everything is just nice and cozy, okay? We don't want all of that. We want something over here that's going to benefit us, something that we could use. We can't use that. And they do not employ us. And they can't say that, oh, they don't come and apply. Yes, they do. They throw the applications away just like they did when I was coming up. They throw them applications away. They don't want us working in their factories. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have the next individual? Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Kimberly McCoy, and I am a community organizer for Faith in the Valley. But today I'm speaking as a representative that worked on the Southwest Pacific Plan, and I'm asking you to deny this request when we know that these types of businesses do not benefit our community at all. There are no promises of jobs going to our community. It's close to our schools, and most importantly, residents and community leaders like myself have volunteered their time for 2+ years to work on a plan to redevelop our community to what we know what we need in our community, and not to keep continuing to harm our community with these type of facilities. I would like to leave you with this. Imagine giving birth to a child in Southwest Fresno. You or your partners or your spouses, and know that their quality of life is compromised by pollution facilities, and automatically they lose 20+ years of their lives because of decisions made by our elected officials. I would rather be here today advocating for a Walmart neighborhood store that's on Cedar and Shields than to be here to keep denying the changing of the rezone that we worked so hard on the plan for. The residents have spoken. I feel that it's very disrespectful that we have to keep coming back to the Planning Commission to keep stopping people from changing the rezoning to industrial rezoning or heavy industrial or light industrial. It's a slap in the face. A lot of us volunteered 2.5 years of our time to work on this plan because we had a vision for Southwest Fresno. We wanted more retail. In North Fresno, they're fighting over a Costco. You wouldn't have that here. We want a Costco. We're tired of going to other neighborhoods and investing our dollars, but we can't invest in our community. So I just want to leave you with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have the next individual? Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Ivanka Saunders with Leadership Council, 2210 San Joaquin Street, Fresno. And I am also a resident of Southwest Fresno, living in the neighborhood just 1,400 feet from the Elm Avenue proposed project area. This application is listed as new matters on tonight's agenda. That means these applications to rezone and amend the current specific plans, EIR, are required to have the draft of that EIR changes publicly noticed and circulated for review. That was not done. The only notice that the public received were the dates for tonight's Planning Commission and next week's City Council meeting. Remember the original 92-acre Elm Avenue rezone application that came before us previously. This is still part of that project, but coming back under a different application. These are the same developers and investors that are still for the remaining 50 acres plus or minus that were not approved originally. Ask yourself, why was it not approved then, and why should it not be approved now? Because the first 30 acres was already too much of a detriment to the community, and it was decided to not return all 92 acres back to light industry from the current mixed use. California Air Resource Board has also previously commented in opposition to this rezoning along Elm Avenue because it falls both within the AB 617 community air protection boundary and the transformative climate community plans. Remember, both of these highly competitive grants were only chosen for cities such as Fresno, who had historically wronged the communities for far too long. And yet here we are, a city acting as puppets on the developer's strings who are trying to continue the racist patterns of placing heavy and light industrial uses just feet away from health centers, new affordable single-family homes, senior housing, and 2 schools. It had been over 40 years since Southwest had a specific plan adopted, which is why we still see the remnants of incompatible land uses today. The whole purpose of the overdue need for the specific plan was to ensure that this city stops allowing siting of harmful industrial uses next to homes that have been historically redlined Black and brown communities. The developers and their legal representatives are proposing to you updated language in the current proposal that may sound like improvements and mitigations. However, don't be fooled. It still amounts to light industrial expansion and uses near sensitive receptors. The conditions in place that they state are an improvement don't even have to be in question if you leave the specific plan alone and leave it as commercial mixed use. If you approve this application, it will continue to increase long-term harmful uses and continue the patterns of structural racism in this city's decision-making process. If you vote to approve this, you will be part of the prior decision makers who do not want to see the city evolve away from the racist north-south divide. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have the next individual? Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Dr. Benice Curry, 312 West Valencia Avenue, Fresno, California, 93706. And I rise to ask this Planning Commission to deny this request. We have come before this Planning Commission on several occasions. This application came through in 2021. Here it is, we are in 2025, relitigating the same issue, which is, do we want to continue to dump in West Fresno? Our community has worked, as you've heard, on this Southwest Pacific Plan, primarily because our sitting city council member one evening suggested that unless we change the zoning, our area would continue to receive industrial sites. And so as a community, we organized and we strategized and we agreed that if we wanted our community to survive, if we wanted our families to live and thrive, then we could not allow the repeated siting of industrial sites into our area. And so you have the Southwest Pacific Plan, which is not all that ambitious. It's not all that creative, but it does lay the groundwork for saying that our West Fresno community members deserve clean air. They deserve a neighborhood that is built to nurture and not to harm them. And so as developers come before you and ask you to please let them continue to dump in our community, even if it looks like it has nice landscaping, it is still harmful to every member of our community. From preconception health to our elderly, it is harmful. It impacts preterm birth, the ability to breathe freely, health disease, heart disease, Alzheimer's disease are all associated with an overburden, overexposure of PM 2.5. We already know that our air quality is bad, but guess what? It is worse in West Fresno. Why is it worse? Because we are inundated with pollution, stationary sources that create air pollution. So when someone comes before us 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the road after we put the plan together, we are going to continue to say no. We will not support harming our community. We will not endorse undermining the Southwest Pacific Plan because it is a plan that is community-driven, community-sanctioned, community-endorsed, and if the city can support the Tower District-specific plan from 91 to 2024, I'm not clear on why you cannot continue to support the Southwest Pacific Plan and its land use zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. The next individual. Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Leroy Candler, 2909 East Gilbert, 93721. I'm also a property owner at Martin Luther King North Avenue. I have family members on North, Hardy, Sampson, Jensen, and a number of other streets throughout 93706. I rise and to speak on denying this application for the following reasons. High pollution, burdened by industrial and operational, does not improve our community in economic and security or sustainability. Changing the zoning in these properties will increase the health risks to Southwest Fresno. I was raised up across the street from Darling Plant on the corner of North and Fig Avenue at that time. I went to elementary school at Fresno Colony School. I went to high school at Washington Union, graduated from Edison. The majority of the people that I grew up with are dead, whole families. I know family members, such as the Tuckers, there was like 20-something of them. There's only 5 or 6 of them left. I got members like the Mac Peters that were still living down there. There's only 2 or 3 of them left when there was 12 or 13. The pollution is horrible down there. People are dying all the time. And to increase by bringing this a change in the zoning, we're only going to encourage more deaths in our area. I'm raising for my people and my family that's standing in the area. We ask that you support the Community Southwest Pacific Plan by recommending and denial of this application. I appreciate if you would urge denial of this plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Do we have the next individual? Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. Commission Chair Vang, honored commissioners, my name is Dominic Holland. I'm the pastor of Carter Memorial African Methodist Episcopal Church here in Fresno. Our address is 940, our current address is 940 Waterman Avenue, 93706. I say current address because that church has moved a number of times, a couple of times for eminent domain. And I mention that because West Fresno has experienced much systemic oppression and racism. But I just wanted to stand to urge you to vote in opposition of this proposal because I don't know if you knew, but you know the horse was an emblem of the city of Troy. What I mean to say is that when the Greeks brought the horse in, it was something that the people of Troy thought was good, something that they embraced. I've heard in this proposal that this is something that would be good for Fresno. It's something that would be good for business. But the problem is that it's going to bring a whole lot of difficult times for the people of West Fresno. Your choice is clear. Is it more important to you to embrace the ease of doing business for some who live outside of West Fresno, or the quality of life for those who live within West Fresno? It's a simple decision. How can you, with good conscience, vote for this proposal when you know that it will do harm, ultimately, to the folks who live there in West Fresno? For some folks to have it easier for them to do business. They've shared with you that they have been doing business, they've continued to do it, and they would continue to be able to do business, but they want it a little bit easier. Unfortunately, you can't in good conscience vote for this.
Thank you, sir. Do we have the next individual who would like to speak in opposition? Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Dr. Sasha Spade, and my addresses are 358 East Bird, 348 East Bird, 2545 South Walnut, 310 East Bird, 325 East Bird, 329 East Cavaland, 2390 South Walnut, 2392 South Walnut, 2419 South Poppy. I'm missing something. I bought the only nail salon in West Fresno. I'm from West Fresno. I went to Washington Union. I don't really participate, but I'm going to say this. Growing up on Church and Walnut, I remember going outside, twirling my baton, hula hooping, and I remember that smell. I went to Washington Union because I couldn't go to Edison, even though I was right there, because of the city. I remember that smell. I help families that don't qualify for traditional financing with the bankers to be able to buy a property. I do not want the residents that trust me to provide them with an opportunity to have to deal with that smell or deal with anything that is a silent killer. One thing I noticed is that everybody that don't like me, look like me, came up here and said how it was beneficial for their business, financing issues, things of that nature. I did not hear anybody say that they were going to commit to employing us, helping us. You talk about financing issues, welcome to the real world. We have to deal with that too. So whatever it is that their agenda is, I don't know all the ins and outs of this proposal, but I do know that I have invested $2.5 million of my own money over the last 2.5 years into Southwest Fresno, and not a dollar of it has come from the city or anybody else. So I'm heavily invested in Southwest Fresno, and I would ask for you to consider those people that are moving over there, trying to get a better life, because when I grew up, they didn't care about giving us a better quality of life. So now the land is cheap, and they can come and they can benefit and monetize their own self-interest, but none of that has anything to do with my community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next individual. Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Gary Hunt. I'm a resident of Southwest Fresno, born and raised 93706, 1411 East Drummond. Left here when I was 16. Parents were still here. I left for the reason because of the racism that I faced as a kid and the pollution that I saw as a kid. I'm a victim of the asthma that these guys produce. I lost 3 other cousins at a young age because of asthma and sickness. But my thing is that if it is such a great plan, and I agree with you, it is a great plan, move it to your community. We need great plans in North Fresno, like this one here. Second of all is that I feel like I'm going before a parole board, asking for something to be done about an issue that we've been facing for a long time, when it's already been voted on. If you guys have any type of conscience, you would do the right thing and keep it the way that it is. Don't let these people come back and poison us any longer. It's almost like inviting cancer into your household. Would any of you want cancer in your households? It's a dreaded disease, right? That's a dreaded disease. Let them take it home with them. And so for the rest of the people that live in Southwest Fresno, my hat is off to you. For those that couldn't make it here, I understand, life happens. But our breathing apparatus, our health apparatus is in your hands tonight. Do the right thing and deny what they have going on. If it was so great, they take it home with them. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. Do we have the next individual who would like to speak in opposition? Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Ella Washington, and I grew up in West Fresno. I'm going to use 1104 Collins because that's where I go to church, and I have to come to West Fresno to attend service and any other meeting that we have. And I'm like the other gentleman. We have formed different kind of health issues from living in West Fresno. And asthma is big in my family, and a lot of individuals did grow up here on the west side. But while those gentlemen were up here talking to me, all I heard was dollars. That's the only thing that they were worried about. There are children, there are elderlies that live in this side, in West Fresno, that are affected, even the ones that are not elderly and that are not young. And we have to deal with this. The zoning was already planned. I feel like the zoning should stay the way that it is. And like the other ones were saying, everybody does not benefit from that. We don't benefit from that. The jobs are not given to us. And I would like for you guys to really listen to what we are saying, because I don't believe that any one of you guys have ever woke up in the morning to a smell that was horrible, that smells like rubbish. None of you guys, and even the gentlemen that were speaking, you guys have not had to wake up in the morning. And even later on, even when I was working for the IRS out on Orange, going to work in the morning, the smell of rubbish really close to it. In that area, it smells bad. So I just want you guys to take into consideration the lives that it affects, the individuals that it affects, and not worry about dollars and cents. worry about the lives of the individuals that it is affecting. And I just want you guys to be mindful and vote against it.
Thank you. Do we have the next individual who would like to speak in opposition? Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Mr. Chair, before I begin my comments and you start, I do have a disability, and I'd ask that you extend my time so I can get through my public comment. I'm visually impaired.
Is there something now, do we need to vote on this as a commission to extend the speaker's time?
As a reasonable accommodation?
Yes, you can vote to extend
Okay.
in this special circumstance.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion? Do we need to define the amount of time that we're going to give that's going to be extra?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Do we, Vice Chair Bray, is there a specific time frame that you want to give this individual? 4 minutes? 4 minutes? 4 minutes? All right, so we have a motion by Vice Chair Bray to extend the speaker's time to 4 minutes. We have a second by Commissioner Leonard. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion is approved.
Thank you. My name is Eric Payne. I'm the Executive Director of the Central Valley Urban Institute. Each of you should have received a notice from legal counsel outlining a number of our concerns as disposition to this public hearing and to the applicant's request. First and foremost, just to speak to a few items that are related to legal counsel as they've provided testimony before you this evening. This project represents clear violation of the California Environmental Quality Act. The applicant failed to properly notify residents within 500 to 1,000 feet of the proposed expansion. Residents that simply live across the street had no knowledge of the hearing that the applicant intended to incur 2 years ago. We have not heard from the applicant for over 2 years. This lack of transparency is not just a procedural error, it's a denial of our legal right to participate in decisions that directly affect our health, homes, and our future. Saying, quote, "we learned and we listened," does not undo the harm caused by keeping residents in the dark. Let's be clear, this is more than a land use issue. This is a matter of environmental justice. We're not against development. We're against being overlooked. We demand development that lifts this community up, not pushes them out. At the very least, the law requires an environmental impact report. And more importantly, our communities demand respect, investment, and a voice. The claim that this land is, quote, "not conducive to any other use" is both short-sighted and false. Our communities deserve more than warehouses and pollution. We deserve investment in housing, small businesses, education, and green space, investments that create long-term economic opportunity, not just temporary jobs. Continuing to concentrate industrial development in low-income neighborhoods perpetuates a cycle of pollution, poor health outcomes, and property devaluation. The residents are the ones who suffer the most. This is not economic development, it's economic displacement. We've heard arguments that this project is consistent with the general plan, but consistency does not exempt it from CEQA. When there is credible evidence like community testimony and data that a project may have significant impacts, an environmental impact report is required. That's the law. Not preparing one undermines the entire intent of CEQA. Residents in this neighborhood already live with noise, traffic, air pollution, and chronic health issues. Adding more industrial activity without a full environmental review is unacceptable. It's especially egregious when those same communities have long been denied the protections and resources they deserve. What some called modern redlining, it's a fact, ladies and gentlemen. The 1970 General Plan, there's specific language that says our neighborhood was redlined. It's not a belief like staff has insinuated during testimony. It's a fact. This project also directly conflicts with the spirit of SB 330, which aims to protect existing residents and prevent displacement. The loss in residential property values and quality of life is real and measurable. This is not just numbers. These are people's homes, families, and their futures. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have the next individual who'd like to speak? Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Annette Brazil. I live at 4631 East Bird, 93725 in Fresno. However, I grew up on the west side. I was born and raised on the west side. I work on the west side at the Internal Revenue Service, right across from the new Jack City building, the Fresno Hotel. I also go to my dad's house every single day. He is 85 years old. I go to my dad's house because I don't want him going to that high overpriced grocery store. So I go to his house, I do his grocery shopping for him. I do everything so he can save money and not pay the high prices because we don't have what we need on the west side of Fresno. So all I'm asking you is to deny this request, okay? Those rich people that live in their fancy zip codes, the things that they need to be investing in is our school, stores, gas stations. We should not have to drive way across town to get cheap gas. The gas stations that we do have that are far near, they're overpriced. We should get the same prices that the fancy zip codes get. So if them investors want to do something right, invest in rebuilding our schools and invest in stores, retail, gas stations, do what's best for West Fresno. But quit taking from us and polluting our area. What I am going to say to you, you guys are leaders. All of you are leaders. And as a leader, a true leader, listen to the people and support the people. Today, your motto should be, I work every day to improve the health and well-being of every person who calls Fresno home. West Fresno is our home, and you need to support us and deny this request.
Thank you. Do we have the next individual? Any other individuals who would like to speak in opposition? Going to close public comments. Invite the applicant. A couple questions that the public had, if you can address those concerns.
Yes, I certainly appreciate the comments from the public. It's obviously a good dialogue to have, and there were important questions raised about the project. And I think that this is a great opportunity for me to, help. I think provide some greater context, clear up some misimpressions perhaps. I obviously heard that there were concerns about pouring more industrial into the community, dumping or placing more industrial into the community. Why do you have to build it here? Again, this is about keeping the buildings that we have. This is not about building new buildings. There's no request to build anything. This is about getting the zoning back for the property consistent with the time that it was built. There are concerns about breach of trust. Again, we really engaged in that negotiation process to demonstrate through deeds, not words, to help build that trust with the community. And we really attempted, every time that we heard a concern, whether it was about odor or water or traffic going near schools, we came up with an identifiable mitigation that we were willing to commit to. And we're willing to put that as conditions on the property, recorded against the property itself. So, hopefully that gesture of good faith shows that these landowners aren't just fly-by-the-night developers, not just someone who's out, going to make a buck, but somebody who's actually willing to put their money where their mouth is and put these conditions against the property specifically in response to what the community asked for. Now, again, the reason why we're here is because the city reached out to these businesses back in the early 2000s. They said, "We want you to invest in Southwest Fresno." And my clients did. They worked with the city of Fresno. They came to the city of Fresno. They cleaned up contamination, and they built these businesses all the way up until 2016 at the city's invitation. And again, this is a very significant investment that my clients made in Southwest Fresno and the city of Fresno generally that ultimately results in employing Fresnans whose jobs are going to be in jeopardy, whose jobs in the city of Fresno will be in jeopardy if this project is not approved. Again, the CEQA process, the concerns raised there, this is the exact same CEQA document, but refreshed, that was utilized for the north side of Annandale. So the exact same thing. Finally, there were some questions about, hey, you're already built out. Why is it you're asking for changes? Why do you need to rezone if you're already built out? And again, the issue is not whether it's built out or not, right? The issue is that these businesses are now, because they have inconsistent zoning, legal nonconforming uses. And what that means is that if you're manufacturing furniture, right, you can't now start engaging in warehouse and distribution for solar panels, right? You can't do that. You lose your legal nonconforming status, and these buildings become an empty shell if you cannot re-tenant them because of the legal nonconforming status. And again, that not only makes these buildings untenantable, it affects financing because these businesses want to engage in upgrades for green infrastructure, and they just can't do that without the zoning being corrected. So I respectfully request, on behalf of all of my clients, all the landowners south of Annandale, that you recommend to the City Council approval of this important request.
Hey, let's please be respectful. Let's please be respectful. If we have any individuals speaking out of line, we're going to have security remove that individual. Okay. Question for you, Mr. Kinsey. In regards to, there was a public comment made that there was no contact with the public for 2 years. What's your response to that?
Yes, so there has been. We obviously have had meetings as far as the notice goes. The city, as we understand it, and the city can obviously confirm this, but there was notice that went out from the city relating to this meeting, the project review committee meeting, as well as the city council meeting. In addition, the property owners went above and beyond and actually placed around the property, including across the street, from some of the properties that were mentioned, signs that actually gave notice. We went above and beyond the notice that was required. Now, we had the required community meeting that's required under the city code. Unfortunately, because obviously this needs to be concurrent with additional residential zoning units, we were told by the city that we couldn't get this immediately set for the Planning Commission. We got this set as early as we could for the Planning Commission. Unfortunately, the last community meeting that was required under the code happened a while back, but that's not the only community meeting that we've had. We had community meetings before the 2022. We had community meetings after that. We had the community meeting that was mentioned by staff. We've had negotiations in numerous different contexts with members of the community. We've had an open door policy if any member of the community wants to contact us.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the commission?
I have a question.
Sure, Brett.
When they first initiated the planning process for the Southwest Plan, I'm assuming your landowners when this plan was first started working on, I'm assuming that the landowners were notified that this was happening, and did they attend the meetings? in the planning process?
I really appreciate that question. Unfortunately, that just isn't correct about what happened. The landowners were not invited to participate in the Southwest planning process. The landowners didn't know that it was going on. They were never contacted by the city of Fresno that it was going on. And if it were just one landowner who says that they didn't get notice of the Southwest specific plan, okay, I can see maybe that was a mistake. If it's two landowners who didn't get notice of the Southwest specific plan, okay, maybe it's still a mistake. But every single landowner of light industrial property north of Annandale and south of Annandale, Mid-Valley, SDG, my clients here today, the many clients that I represent today, not a single one of them got notice in 2017 of the Southwest specific plan. Now, we're here trying to correct that. And that's why we're here today, because my clients have been criticized in the media, in various forums. Why weren't you here when the Southwest specific plan was being considered by the city of Fresno? Well, you can't be somewhere if you didn't get notice. And that's ultimately what happened. So again, we've been trying to work cooperatively with the city to try to move past this issue, to try to preserve the jobs that we have, to try to preserve the land use that allows these properties to continue to operate.
All right, thank you.
Of course.
Can I ask staff a question then? What, did we notice them? I mean, why? I would assume we would have noticed
Commissioner, I can handle that. Yes, all of the property owners within the Southwest Specific Plan area were noticed for all of the meetings. They were sent to property owners, so the owner of record. So what we have heard since that time is that many times residents or tenants don't know things that are happening. So since then, we have started sending notices not only to property owners, but to tenants as well. But yes, every property owner within the Southwest Fresno specific plan area was noticed multiple times.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Kreiner?
Okay, so you stated that at the community meetings that you held, the last community meeting that was held that is on record was, you said 2022?
No, yeah.
What was that?
Commissioner Kreiner, my recollection, and this is again off the top of my head, but the community meeting that the city requires was conducted, I believe it was in December of 2023, or thereabouts.
On record, how many community members were in attendance?
I believe it was over 40. We held an open house. We had it at a school within the Southwest Plan. It was very well attended. And we had representatives of the city, landowners, and we were there to answer any questions. I was there to answer questions.
And the feedback that you received from that community meeting, from those 40 attendees, were they positive or negative, sir?
It was both. So we obviously saw a lot of the same folks who are here today offering some of the similar comments. We also met people in the area who likewise didn't receive notice, who were business owners within Southwest who raised concerns to us saying, hey, we feel like we're in a similar boat as you all. We heard from other community members and business owners that were supportive of us. So we received comments, frankly, all over the place.
Do you have any of those comments documented whatsoever, or was it just verbal?
I believe that the planners, as well as the city and some others, took notes of those comments. But, I mean, that's what they said they were doing. I know everyone had whiteboards, but that was what I heard with my own ears.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Yeah. I actually have a question for the city, please. To run a business, we need homes. And there has not been, so much development in Southwest Fresno. I'm a student of history, so yes, there has been redlining in numerous minority areas. I'm really concerned with moving over 3,000 homes. Remember, when there are property owners, there's property tax. When there are more people, more businesses will come into that community. And there is a desert of businesses in the West, especially on the West side, Southwest side. So this, I just cannot, I'm having actually trouble that how are we gonna build, I mean, we already have so much housing shortage. I mean, how are we gonna handle losing all these homes, like over 3,000 homes? And if there is no development happening, if no community members are moving into an area, how can a business go there? And do we have any plans to bring in more businesses, especially like big stores? Because it's very concerning hearing the community that they have to overpay for gas, groceries, and with this inflation, everything keeps on going up and up. So, and any comments on that?
So let's kind of go back to our training on SB 330 and housing capacity. So housing capacity is what is the amount of housing that could be built on a property based on its zoning, right? It's not about whether or not there are specific actual housing units that have been built or not built. It's about capacity. So when the property was rezoned from industrial light to neighborhood mixed use, it allowed for housing capacity that didn't exist there before. It doesn't mean that there's housing there now. It simply means the city has to replace that capacity in some other way. So the council cannot take action unless there is there are other projects, whether that's a rezone or an amendment to code that would allow housing in other zoning districts. Those are ways that you can increase capacity. So it's not a loss of actual households or rooftops.
Do we have any further questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
For staff, quick question for you, Rob. In a situation where you currently have legal non-conforming usage, if a new tenant comes in, are they able, is there any way to transfer the current usage?
Transfer the current usage per tenant space? No.
Okay.
Unless it was already a permitted use in the current zone district.
Let's walk through that process. So a new tenant comes to, or an application comes to the counter, right? So new business license, new zone clearance. And again, this goes back to training that we've had. So the use table has the zoning in the columns and the uses on the lines. So the legal non-conforming use is a line on the table, right? So it is a row on the table. So they can continue in that exact space, the same exact use. So manufacturing, manufacturing. Wholesale distribution, wholesale distribution. Some other use, right? It can only be that use. You cannot move between those lines on the table. So even though it may be in an industrial category or in a business park category or commercial category, it's not the category, it is the very specific line. So if it is a restaurant without a drive-through, it can't be a restaurant with a drive-through. If it's a grocery store, it can't be a drugstore, right? It has to stay in that line across on the table. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So that's the analysis that happens for every tenant that for this site or any other legal non-conforming site, we are required to look at what is the exact use and is it the same footprint. So if I'm Mr. Kinsey used a different analogy than I normally use. If I'm a teddy bear manufacturer and I want to expand into the next door space as a manufacturer, but they're a distributor, I can't. I have to stay in that footprint, right? And I can only be a manufacturer. I can't be a distributor.
Is there any way to submit, is there any way where they can go ahead and move to the manufacturing, whether through like a CUP or any other?
Unless it is a permitted or conditionally permitted use in neighborhood mixed use, they can't do that without rezoning. This is the only option.
Gotcha. Okay.
And to provide additions to that, when an abandonment of a legal nonconforming use occurs, meaning they've moved out of the tenant space to get that same tenant with that same use for mixed-use districts specifically, that needs to be reestablished within a consecutive 5-year period. Otherwise, they cannot even come back after that.
Gotcha. Okay. Do we have any questions for staff?
I have one other question. Rob, could you put back up that slide of the 3 options we had for recommendation?
Sure. Different. Oh, there we go. Thank you.
And I think it's important to note that what we're doing is we're making a recommendation to the city council too. Okay. Any questions for staff? No. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Oh. No, my apologies. We close out public comments. Sorry. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and bring it back to the commission. If we don't have any additional questions, we'll bring it back to the commission. What we're going to do is we're going to have each commission speak, provide their input. I'll start from the right, let Commissioner Kreiner go last.
Actually, after hearing a community, remember the people who live in a particular area, they live there, they reside there, their children go to school there. I am in actually favor of denial, and the reason for that is because they had multiple community meetings, Southwest with the Southwest Pacific Plan, Community Voice. Because what the community has to say, we need to hear that. And the mistakes that have been made in the history, they need to be corrected. And we are talking about equity here. And we talk about One Fresno. We need to have equity on every side of Fresno. Residents should not have to drive 25 minutes or 30 minutes to go to a Costco to get a reasonable rate of gas. So we need to hear the community. If the community has worked 2.5 years with the public input, people have attended meetings. I have worked on the West of 99 plan for many, many years, and I understand how intense the time is, making up the time to attend those meetings and hearing hearing all the inputs. So we really need to listen to what people has to say.
Vice Chair Bray.
I have another question, Jennifer. If we were to deny this, is that the end of it, or can they appeal it and take it to the city council?
No, remember, this is a plan amendment rezone. You are a recommending body only. You have no final authority on this item at all. So you will recommend to the city council for with conditions, or against. Those are your 3 options.
So I'm going to look like the bad guy to both sides. I hear what the businesses are saying. This is not new development for them. It's already there. But I have to say shame on them for not paying attention when the Southwest Pacific Plan started. You got to pay attention. On the other hand, I think that it's, we ask the question, how will we handle all of these kind of things? But how will we handle things when people don't have the jobs that they need to buy the homes that they need and to buy the groceries that they need. So I'm in the middle there, and so I believe that we should recommend that this move to the City Council, but with, and I don't know if we can do this, I would like you to tell me if we can, recommend that the housing that could have been built there, it's not really displaced, be built in the Southwest plan. Can we do that? Is that a thing?
You can recommend that the SB 330 offset, again, capacity doesn't mean construction, just means capacity. You could recommend that that occur in Southwest Fresno. I don't know of a specific location or specific project, but yes, that is certainly a recommendation you could make.
But it wouldn't have to be one big hunk at a time.
No, but it all has to be, so it has to be approved by the City Council at the same meeting that this is approved at. So the process to either rezone multiple pieces of property or to change code to allow for housing in other zoning districts where it doesn't currently exist would need to be completed before this would need to be completed through this body and heard at the same hearing at City Council when this is, if this was approved.
Can that be done in the time frame?
In 2 weeks? Probably not.
Yeah, that's what I'm...
Yeah, so, but you can certainly recommend it. It would just need, if the council chose to accept that recommendation, they would simply have to wait until that was accomplished.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, so, I try to look at this very objectively and try to move the emotions from the entire conversation as much as possible. I do sympathize with both parties that's involved, whether it's, living and being exposed to that area 24/7, or whether you're coming into the area, you're creating jobs too. When I look at the entire process itself, it's hard for me to accept the fact that during the specific Southwest plan, these property owners weren't involved in the process. So to me, when you're investing that kind of money within that area, I think the failure of participating in those critical discussions, you have to do some self-reflecting, and it's going to be difficult to try to correct that issue. Okay. So with me personally, I'm going to lean to recommend denial to the City Council, and I feel like, but ultimately, I feel that decision should be made at the City Council level, because they are a representative of each one of you, whether it's the business, whether it's the constituents that live in that area too. So with me, I do believe that we should recommend a denial and let them make that decision. Commissioner Kreiner.
Thank you, Brother Chair. First of all, I celebrate the community for coming out so strong and speaking so adamantly regarding both the historical, systematic, and systemic oppression that has been invested in the community, and then doing all that's right, or pushing and fighting so hard to see what can be done to uproot so many of those systemic issues that have plagued the community for so long. I agree with our chair when it comes to the Southwest Pacific Plan hearings and meetings that were held, and whether there was a lack of communication or a lack of participation, whether it was or was not communication or participation, whether it was still a lack of, and that today is irrelevant to me, because there was still an opportunity for that to be done at the time, and it wasn't done. Today, I am trying my best to fight against personal emotion when it comes to Southwest Fresno and the historic issues that have plagued the community, when tonight one of Southwest Fresno's most prime residents, whose father and mother and grandfather was dipped into building Southwest Fresno, Dr. Bryson White, is undergoing kidney transplant surgery as we speak in Stanford due to the 20-year life expectancy gap and the lack of poor air quality in Southwest Fresno. He was raised, born in, and his grandfather pastored St. West Church here. and as we speak, is undergoing surgery because of that lack of air quality, and had to move from Edison High School to Bullard High School just to be able to go outside and participate in PE and football because of the lack of air quality. And for so long, we have fought and fought to make sure that there is equality. And today, the turnout of community says that they want something different. There is no doubt that my recommendation is denial for more than one reason, but specifically because of the voices of our community. And I echo your sentiments, Brother Commissioner. We have to listen to community. And we have to start looking at the quality of life over the dollars of life. We have to start looking at those that matter and the ability to have a good quality of life for the next generation, especially when we have elders who have come out at 8 o'clock at night and are pushing and pushing to fight continually. And they're not fighting for dollars, sir. They're not fighting for big business. They're fighting so that they can have a life and that their great-grandchildren can have life as well. So I really think we need to look at what the Southwest Pacific Plan was fighting so hard for, and for some reason, it seems like one of the only specific plans that constantly keeps getting fought against is Southwest Pacific Plan, and that's a shame. And so I stand on that, and I do recommend denial, and I recommend that proudly.
All right, so with that being said, Commissioner Kreiner, do you want to make a motion?
I sure do. Brother Chair, I recommend the denial of the action that has been brought before us tonight.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
So we have a motion made by Commissioner Kreiner, second by Commissioner Shergill. Let's take roll on this, please.
Commissioner Kreiner.
Yes.
Commissioner Shergill.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bray.
No.
Chair Vane.
Yes. So motion is to recommend it now to the City Council. Next, do we have any reports from the Secretary?
I do not have a report tonight. Just to remind you that our next meeting is on May 7th. Please respond when you're asked about attendance so that we can make sure that we have a quorum. Thank you.
And really quickly, too, before you guys do leave, just know that I heard a boo when Vice Chair Bray said no on that. You guys have to understand that what we're doing here is we're volunteering, right? So we have a full-time job, and what we try to do is we try to come out here, try to be objective as possible, and try to serve the community itself, too, okay? So thank you. All right, do we have any unscheduled oral communications?
All right, so Brother Chair, while she's on her way up, Brother Chair, I'm going to ask the community, listen, you guys, family, listen, if you all can, I'm going to ask if you all would give Commissioner Bray a hand clap for her courage and at the same time for her voice for still standing. Thank you.
And I'd be happy to talk to any of you individually. So,
Please state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes, miss. Let's please be considerate, too. If you guys do decide to speak and have conversation, I ask that you guys have that outside.
I'm with Heat for Southwest Fresno's community, and Mr. Kreiner, I have a problem with what you did. I think that was last week when you stated that Southwest Fresno was a food desert. What comes along with that, and which we gave you the paperwork with that, it tells you that with poor diet, it has mental health, chronic disease, and premature death. That's what's in the Southwest Fresno specific plan. So we have a problem with that, with even using that term. And now to Jennifer, you guys put in that, the consolidated plan, that Heat had an input to the community. That is a lie. That never happened. We want it out because there was no community participation in that. And whoever put down there was 4 people there, their hands should be shaken for even putting 4 people that attended that meeting at Maxey Park. We are not getting notified. I could care less what people say. They're not notifying our community. So there was not any input in the consolidated plan. None whatsoever. So we have a problem with that, and you need to get our name out of that.
Thank you. Do we have the next individual who would like to speak for unscheduled oral communications? You can respond afterwards.
Yeah, my name is Bobby. I'm with Heat in West Fresno. I'm just going to confirm and support what Brunette had just said, is that it is not a good thing is to indicate anyone to say that a person agrees or was a part of a meeting or anything that you were trying to get as far as your, saying that there was a community input. It's wrong when you print things like that, and then you're going to indicate people in it. We were at that particular meeting less than 15 minutes or 20 minutes or so because there were no community there, period. And so, like Brunette said, you print this. We know that a lot of people will probably never see it or read it. But when you present it to whatever, committee or trying to get fundings, it's false. And then you're saying that we agree with what you printed in that book, in that consolidated annual book. That is not right, and it's not truth. So if you're going to vote on or if you're going to agree on things, people need to be conscious of what they do, because not everybody is going to say, well, I didn't know it or I didn't see it. We will always check and see what's going on in our community. We can voice our voices and say that we are speaking for, but we will continue to accumulate the information, and we are going to read to make sure that our community is going to be taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other unscheduled oral communications? All right, I see none. Commissioner Kreiner, do you have any comments before?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to address the comment regarding food desert, just to kind of get clarification to what that term, food desert, is a term that was actually from the origins of the 1960s, where it spoke about a lack of the accessibility to supermarkets, the accessibility to quality foods, fresh produce, in contrast to what is considered by many opponents called a food oasis, where you have a multitude of supermarkets, a multitude of the ability to access quality foods and fresh produce. And the term of that in relation to Southwest Fresno is what Mr. Les Kimber opened up his mouth and spoke of in the 1990s, the mid-90s, when the push was to bring about a grocery store into Southwest Fresno with the hopes and the pulls that there would be a multitude of grocery stores in Southwest. So whenever I speak of to my fellow commissioners and to our city, that Fresno, Southwest Fresno, it sits in a food desert, it's not by choice. It's almost an indictment against our city, an indictment against the people that are calling for the purpose of why is it that a particular area sits where there is a lack of quality fresh produce and quality foods, where there is a particular other areas where there was oasis of foods that is produced and that is accessible. And that is nothing against our community. That is actually calling into action that it doesn't make sense that there's one grocery store in Southwest Fresno, and that grocery store is high cost, but with the lack of fresh produce. When in other parts of our city, there are fresh foods, there are fresh fruit stores, there are these open markets that are accessible to anyone that can just walk in and out of, but in the community that I pastor, there is none. And that's a call to action. So I just wanted to make sure that the community knows that there was no disrespect whatsoever considered when that term is used. It's not a term that I created. It's a term that is known from East Oakland to Baltimore to Ferguson, Missouri, to Chicago, and communities of color or communities that are disenfranchised, where you typically find, especially in Southwest, and I put this on the record, 27 liquor stores but one grocery store. Something is wrong with that. And that, by way of definition, is considered a food desert. Amen. I submit.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. All right, it's currently 8:25. Meeting's adjourned. Have a wonderful evening.